Welcome to 2024. Today, as I'm doing this podcast, it's January 1st, 2024. I have so many things to share with you this year. Let's get to it. Thank you for joining me today. Drinking again Headbangers Brew in that mug being Teach, Meet, Eat, Pray, the focus of our first week here and all year. As we begin to talk about some great things this year, got a lot of things planned as we drink our Headbangers Brew. If you haven't heard, we have a new blend out. It's our winter blend. It's called Brewed Awakening. So good. Cinnamon, creamy nut, graham, good stuff, really good stuff. I'm drinking it right now, and man, is it good. And folks, that our mugs, our posters, t-shirts, wearemetalwearefamily.com. So, 2024, we made it. We made it. Some of us thought, will we ever make it? And while things around us many times seem to be falling apart, I'm so happy that God is still here, He is still on the throne, and He's still changing lives. So Lord, change us. That's my prayer for this year. And, folks, I want to start out the year, especially these 5 days, zeroing in on some areas that you might be writing for a New Year's resolution. Because we get to this part of the year and we're resolute in things that we want to accomplish. And yet sometimes we don't go about it in the correct way. And I want to talk about our relationship with the Lord. I want to talk about what motivates us. And I want to get into some of those gray areas that you might be struggling with as we become resolute in this new year and decide how we're going to approach it. So thank you for joining me. Let's jump in. So there's a poem that I love, and I don't know if I've ever shared it here on a podcast. And, I've been doing daily podcasts, the video daily podcast. I did audio before that, but the video daily podcasts for 13 years now. So there's a chance I might have covered it at some point. But I want us to start here because I think it's a very good point to make as we look to the new year. And it's called The Dash. You may have read it, by Linda Ellis. And she says, I read of a man who stood to speak at the funeral of a friend. And he referred to the dates on the tombstone from the beginning to the end. He noted that first came the date of birth, and then spoke the following date with tears. But he said what mattered most was all the dash between those years. That dash represents all the time that they spend on earth. That dash from birth to death, the dash in between. And represents all the time that they spent alive on earth, and now only those who love them know what that little line is worth. For it matters not how much we own, the cars, the house, the cash. What matters is how we live and love and how we spend our dash. So think about this long and hard. Are there things you'd like to change? For you never know how much time is left that can still be rearranged. If we could just slow down enough to consider what's true and real, and always try to understand the way other people feel, and be less quick to anger, and show appreciation more, and love the people in our lives like we've never loved before. If we treat each other with respect and more often wear a smile, remembering this special dash might only last a little while. So when our eulogy is being read, with your life's actions to rehash, would you be proud of the things they say about how you spent your dash? Life in the dash Let's talk about it this week. And what would we want people to see? So, folks, there are several areas as we approach the new year that I would love to clean up. That I would, if I was going to do a New Year's resolution, and I do them almost every day, by the way. I don't need the New Year's to do it. But I am resolute in some things. There are some things that I give to the Lord almost a daily basis and say, Lord, I'd like to get better in this area. I'd like to be more fulfilled in this area. I'd like to be more intense and more in depth in this area. And when I do that, I begin to open myself up in those areas to make some dramatic changes. And you may feel like 2024, in whatever year you're watching this, whatever day you're watching this, you may feel like this is a time to make some of those decisions that will last you the rest of your life and how you live your dash. So let's talk about that. The first one I want to approach is this whole area of love. We've talked about it a million times. We say love, love, love. Love God, love others, love you. And Jesus said that was the most important commandment. And I want to zero in on a particular part of love. And it addresses it here in 1 John chapter 2 and verse 16. And it says, for all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, in other words, craving for sensual gratification, the lust of the eyes, greedy longings of our mind, and the pride of life, that assurance of one's own resources or in the stability of earthly things. These do not come from the Father, but are from the world itself. So if those three things are the things we're focusing on and living with, the lust of the flesh, or the cravings for sensual gratification, the lust of the eyes, the pride of life, we're on the wrong track. So let's talk about this. The lust of the flesh. Let's start there. The gratification for sensual satisfaction. Now, sensual doesn't always mean sexual. It has to do with things that make us feel good. Now, sexuality is one of those, but so is the way that we love, the way that we communicate with people, the way that we live our lives emotionally has to do with sensual gratification. Now, this is a tough area for a lot of people because we are a sensual people. And our society these days, very, very sensual. You are bombarded every year with pictures and with visuals that some of them you can't forget, and a lot of them aren't very good for you. And like no other time in history, we are sensually motivated. We really are. Most popular app these days is probably Instagram. It's the one thing that a lot of people have in common. You know, Snapchat is for younger people, Facebook is for older people, but Instagram seems to integrate the two a whole lot. But Instagram is just that. It's sight. It's visual. And it's appealing to the senses, especially Snapchat and others like that, or TikTok especially TikTok. So sensuality, it's a motivator, and sadly it's motivating a lot of you that are watching me today as well. And it says, for this is all of the world. And these are the things that don't come from the Father, but they come from the world. And so there are some decisions to make about what will be your foundations and your motivators as you begin life in this particular year. Folks, it's going to be a great year. I'm looking forward to tackling some of these subjects with you yet another year as we begin to grow spiritually. And this is a Bible study. This is a human being study. And more than anything, it's a discourse on our relationship with God and how to achieve it. And I hope you stick with me this year as we grow spiritually and as we begin to overcome some of these areas with the great overcomer, Jesus Christ. Folks, don't forget, you are blessed. So go and be a blessing.